Okay, good luck everybody. This is a final four-wheel drive, leg number 1. Here we go. So off and away for the start of a final leg number 1. Paul Crompton leads them off from pole position. The all pink machine. Neil Craig right there with him. Tommy Hall, Jamie Hall, Lee Martin with very little in it between these guys throughout qualifying. Track conditions ever changing. It's got a bit damp out there, but the sun's out now. The skies are coming through blue. Down the straight they go for the first time. These guys try and find out what's underneath them. Crompton has a 4/10 of a second lead over Neil Craig at the sharp end. Really tricky track out there, especially under these conditions. Through the back section comes Paul Crompton, Neil Craig, Tommy Hall, Jamie Hall, Lee Martin, top 5 just pulling out slightly from Ben Smith and the chasing guys behind him. Crompton's lead up to 6/10 of a second, 50 seconds on the race clock, so plenty of time for things still to change. Crompton through the middle of the track now. Those guys jumping that tabletop, just trying to take the fastest route through there where they can. And Neil Craig getting right up now behind Paul Crompton. Looking for a move already. Tommy Hall right there as well. So Craig got the gap down to 3/10 now. To Crompton ahead of him. These guys know they've got to keep off the white painted curbs. They're very slippery out there still. So first 5 just pulling out slightly on everybody else. Tommy Hall going after Neil Craig. Neil Craig going after Paul Crompton. Everyone's so delicate as they get on the gas coming onto the straight. But the rooster tails down the straight they go. First 3 and then 4th and 5th. So Paul Crompton, Neil Craig and Tommy Hall do first 3. 6/10 of a second cover all 3 cars. And half second further back is Jamie Hall and Lee Martin. Tommy Hall trying everything he can on Neil Craig. Craig all at the back of Crompton. These guys know he's got to be clean and tidy at the sharp end, just approaching the 2-minute mark. So 3 minutes to go of this A final leg number 1. Round number 4 of the 10th Offroad Nationals here at Southport this weekend. Brilliant hot day yesterday, mixed weather conditions today. And look at these guys getting closer and closer out front as they come onto the straight. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. Less than 1 second, pretty much covering all 5 cars. Well, it's 1.1 as it stands. Crompton trying to pull away from Craig. He's trying to pull away from Tommy Hall. Then Jamie Hall and Lee Martin right in the mix. Halfway through this leg, drivers.
Race over after 2 minutes, 30 seconds. 1, 2, 3.
So Crompton pushing on, does a new fastest lap of this final. He pulls his biggest lead he's had, which is 8/10 of a second over Neil Craig. Craig got 6/10 there on Tommy Hall. Then comes Jamie Hall and Lee Martin. So any of these 5 can still do it in this leg 1. Still over 2 minutes to go. Craig got the gap down to half a second now to Crompton. 8/10 back is Tommy Hall. Neil Craig really pushing on. We know these guys do not race for second. They all want the victory. Only one of them can get it. But remember, this is only a final leg 1. Still 2 more legs to go. Lee Martin getting round the outside of Jamie Hall as they come onto the straight now. So Lee Martin to the 4 spot. Jamie Hall back to 5. Can those guys do anything about the 3 ahead of them? 1 minute 35 to go on the master clock. Crompton leads by 8/10 of a second over Neil Craig. 6/10 back then to Tommy Hall. Lee Martin and Jamie Hall giving chase as well. 1 minute 20 remaining. Down the straight they go. All the skill needed from these drivers. Craig's got the gap down now to half a second. Paul Crompton, Neil Craig. A little gap back then to Tommy Hall and Neil Craig looking every way he can on Crompton. 1 minute to go. Can Neil Craig do anything about Crompton? He's been piling on the pressure. Paul Crompton's been taking the pressure. 6/10 as they crossed the line last time through. Crompton just a little bit out of shape over the jump. Craigie really pushing on for it. 45 seconds to go. Crompton making his car as wide as he can. Neil Craig looking every way he can. And here comes Tommy Hall. Down the straight they go. 1st, 2nd and 3rd. 1.1 seconds cover the top 3. 30 seconds remaining. So it's going to be this lap and 1 more lap for the top 3 guys. Neil Cragg still chasing Paul Crompton as he's done from the start of this A final. Crompton driving nicely, taking the pressure. They're going to go around. This will be the start now of the final lap of this leg A final, number 1. 0.6 of a second, Crompton's lead. It's going to be to the line. They're going to be hitting the line and finishing this lap. So Paul Crompton, can he do the last half a lap clean? Tommy Hall try and chase Neil Cragg. It makes a little bobble. Is Cragg doing anything about Paul Crompton? No, he's not. Paul Crompton, what a race, taking leg number 1. Neil Cragg second, Tommy Hall third, Lee Martin 4th, Ben Smith will be 5, Luke Holdsworth 6. So what a race out front with those guys. That's only leg number 1, legs 2 and 3 to come later today. So as Andy says, now we move to the main event. Some of the local Southport crew. L final coming up. Are you setting the grid for this one, Andy? Only joking.